r/ask Reddit. What is it like to live alone? It's awesome. Life is on the U channel 24/7. But you gotta really love that programming. Living alone is better than living with people who stress you out, but worse than living with someone who makes you feel safe and at ease. After 8 years of the latter, it's only okay to live alone. It isn't great, but it could be worse. You are forced to discover if you are a good or shitty roommate. I got really good at cleaning when I realized I didn't like living in filth. I realized I had always been really good at cleaning, but before I'd been cleaning for 4. Nobody ever runs the taps while you're in the shower. Why does this hit so hard? When I say hit, I mean ice cold water hitting my back when people do that shit. Or my hair cakes in shampoo from the lack of water for so long. I have never closed the bathroom door, which is especially nice when you're getting out of the shower with no foggy mirrors. My cat get weirded out when guests close the bathroom door. Nice and peaceful until you have visitors. Then you have to run the vacuum, tidy the living room, spray the Febreze, hide the dirty dishes, etc. Yep, I used to invite people over to force myself to clean. I do this constantly. I mean, my house is usually tidy. Sometimes dishes pile up a bit, but whatever. But I forget to do things like dusting or things you don't need to do daily or regularly, so I invite my mum over, so I'm forced to do it cause she's so damn clean and I'm afraid of her judgment. Haha. Simply the best. No checking in with someone. No explanations required if you just want to walk out the door and do something. The freedom is just unmatched. You don't know how annoying it is to bounce your intentions off of another person until you don't have to do it anymore. Not to mention there are none of the million little compromises and accommodations you make just having a roommate. Living alone, you can watch whatever TV show, movie or video game when you want. Pause it for half an hour to make whatever you want for dinner, and then do whatever you want with the dishes afterwards. The bathroom is set how you like. The seat is where you left it, and you're free to leave the door open so the cat can visit. You don't have to schedule a time to take a shower. It's always your shower time whenever you get up. The thermostat is set wherever you want it. You get as many blankets as you want, and your snore is free to roam wild and unfettered. Every nork and zzzzzzzzzrk and tiak allowing you to sleep deep and sound without nudge, elbow, or poke interrupting your slumber. On the one hand, you can do as you please. On the other hand, everything is your own responsibility. So if anything's going to get done, it's all up to you. And on the gripping hand, when you're personally in need, like loneliness or medical emergency, you're on your own. These dishes aren't going to do themselves, just like your crippling depression isn't going to just go away on its own. Love the solitude, but hate the loneliness. There's a fine line between them. For me, I think they're almost the same thing sometimes, and it's actually difficult to recognize that what I'm missing is human contact, because at the same time I'm enjoying solitude. It's become more evident since COVID, but I can be feeling a little down but at the same time look around and go, but everything is exactly how I want it. It's tough to process. It's like being on vacation, permanently. Yup, lol. You do whatever, wherever. You can be naked all day without grossing anyone out or giving them the impression that you want sex. Yup, I lived in my place for over a week. A friend comes to visit and says, "You know your bathroom door doesn't close, right?" I had no idea. That's hilarious. I live alone, but I still shut and lock the bathroom door and bedroom door when I sleep. Far superior to any other kind of living. You are the master of your domain. Lord of the manor. All the stuff remains where stuff is supposed to be. You put a Coke in the fridge and it's still there. The sink never gets clogged with hair. The room temperature is always 18 degrees Celsius. If you don't feel like cooking food, you don't have to. It's wonderful. I read a comment that talks about how nice and peaceful it is when you're alone, and thought I'd jump in with the other side of that. That peace and tranquility translates into boredom and sadness if you're not an explicit introvert. For everyone that talks about how nice it is not to have a roommate messing things up, you start to really just want to have someone around just for interaction. A pet really isn't going to fill the void of human interaction. Not that I don't love my dog, it has been a problem for me because then when I have tried to move in with girlfriends in the past I don't have a lot of experience dealing with someone else in my living space. Living alone really doesn't prepare you for the necessary compromise and frustration of being around people, and avoiding such things only conditions you to further distance yourself from others. Quiet, so quiet. Turn up the music then. Playing loud music whenever I want has been one of the greatest benefits of living alone, but no more picking up around the house trying to be as quiet as possible. Wake up at 3 AM with tons of energy, let's rock out and get some shit done. I lived alone for less than a year. It was great at first. I could do whatever I want whenever I want without anyone judging me. It was so nice to have my own little private oasis. It did get lonely sometimes though. I had people over sometimes and it was cool to have company over whenever I want, but after a while of living there when my guests left I felt this sometimes overwhelming loneliness. It got very depressing. For me, it's bad for my mental health, combined with my job, which already left me isolated. I started to feel like I was in prison eventually because weeks could go by without me talking to people. Multiple factors were at play, but that's the effect it had on me. Pretty great. Frankly, it's arguably the best way to find out if you are good company for yourself, and I think it makes one more self-sufficient. I spent the first 47 years of my life living with people. Been living on my own the past 6. At first the silence and autonomy was weird, but now I love it so much I honestly can't imagine ever living with another human again. Obviously COVID has made it a little trying, but I prefer the occasional pang of loneliness to the never-ending compromise, noise and mess of sharing my space. It depends a lot on your age. The older you get, the more it sets in that this might be a lifelong arrangement. Has its ups and downs. I find myself being a lot lazier being alone. I don't clean as often because it's just me. Personally, clutter, laundry, and dishes out doesn't bother me, but it compounds to the point where it does bother me, but it's a mountain at that point. Not efficient. My roommates throughout college worked out and this helped get me to work out. When that went away, I stopped. I always had positive roommates with good direction and motivation in their life. By myself I tend to become content easily. I'd make it a competition in my own head to strive for their standards, and this helped me develop a lot of good habits. They motivated me to do laundry, cook, clean, etc. It's nice not having to address someone every time you walk through the door, but it's very easy to become detached. I was definitely over living with roommates in college, but I miss it now. I always had multiple roommates, so just one would have been a good balance. Having a good roommate is better than living alone. A bad one is another story. It's nice, but it can be lonely. I have 3 cats to ease the loneliness. I moved out of my shared apartment with my boyfriend late last year. It is the first time I've ever lived alone in my whole life. It was very strange at first, and so much quieter than I expected. It's taken me a long time to get used to it, like others have mentioned. It is great most of the time being able to watch whatever you want, eat whatever/whenever you want, but a lot of the time it is very lonely. There's no one to talk to unless you have pets and talk to them, which I do, but it isn't the same. You have the freedom to live as you please. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.